In the history of vintage computers, there have been many with very stylish and attractive cases. It's one of the reasons that I collect vintage computers. There's just something so endearing about that 70s, 80s look, how futuristic it was at the time. Some of my personal favorites include the Commodore PET, the Xerox Alto, and the Osborne portable computer with its 5-inch screen. But also on that list, I would include this beautiful computer, the Bell Howell Apple II Plus, also known as the Darth Vader Apple II, and for obvious reasons. This was a special version of the Apple II Plus that was sold exclusively by Bell & Howell under license from Apple. Now this thing has some serious presence. I mean, it's just awesome looking, and the black design was very rare for that time. You can see where Bell & Howell updated the badge. It would normally say Apple II Plus right there. And of course, everything is coated in black, including the keyboard. Now besides just the cosmetic changes, there actually were some new features with this case. Let me go ahead and show you some of those. So right here on the side, we now have an external connector for 2 paddles or joysticks. Now you might think that's pretty standard, but normally there would only be one connector, and you'd have to access the motherboard to connect your joystick to it. So on the back of the machine is what's called a backpack, and basically if I look on the left here, we have updated AV controls, so audio mixer controls. You can adjust the volume of the internal speaker too, which is something Apple actually wouldn't do for quite a while for the Apple II models. You also had 2 BNC video connectors for video output, so you could actually broadcast your video to 2 different monitors simultaneously. And you can see there's ports for headphones, speaker out, and cassette. And then over here, basically they just added 3 power jacks, and you can turn the power on separately for those versus the computer. You also have a handle in the middle for carrying this thing around. Now, the reason that a special case had to be made was because certain educational institutions could only use computers that were UL certified, and because the Apple II could run with the case open, it was not UL compliant. And so a lock was installed. Oh no! I guess this was to keep kids from screwing around in there or stashing drugs inside it or something. In any event, the lock is on the back, and it's actually just a small screw that requires a special bit to open it, and when you unscrew it, the power is actually cut off. Now I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's actually a small hole that the screw fits in to secure the lid. Alright, so with the lock removed, we can now access it just like we could any normal Apple II computer. And you can see the innards of the machine, and it's actually just all normal hardware. There's nothing special about this. It's a typical Apple II Plus motherboard with some special wiring to support the new features. This is what the computer looked like when I picked it up a couple days ago. It was honestly in one of the worst conditions I've seen a computer in quite a while, even worse than when I picked up that old Mac II Si with a big cockroach fried to one of the circuits. I don't know what the hell the school that had this was doing with it, but it smelled like rat piss, and I counted at least 15 dead spiders pretty much everywhere in the system, even in the encoder board and underneath the motherboard. Needless to say, I completely gutted this thing before even attempting to boot it, and after a thorough cleaning, I finally tested it. The power supply was good, but I only got gibberish on the screen, and the internal speaker was completely destroyed. So I ended up swapping in a spare board that I have and installing a speaker from another Apple II, and voila, she's working again. Now I can't begin to tell you how thrilled I am to finally have one of these things. Just to give you an idea of how long I've wanted one, I bought the accompanying Bell & Howell disk drives about 1 year ago, long before I even had the machine, but I knew one day I would have one. All I need now is a 9-inch black TV or monitor, and I'm set. Maybe I'll paint this one. We'll see. In any event, I hope you enjoyed this brief review. Thanks for watching.